Welcome everyone to Backcosting, your time machine to profit, brought to you by Electrical Business Magazine and featuring Coach Andrew Houston. I'm Anthony Kapkin, today's moderator. Your coach, Andrew Houston, is the founder and owner of Profit for Contractors. He's been coaching trades business owners for nearly a decade, helping them improve their business skills so they can achieve their personal and business goals. After today's webinar, please visit ebmag.com/webinars and check out recordings of Andrew's past training sessions on subjects such as quoting profitably and efficiently, cash flow problems, systemizing your business, and more. You'll be glad you did. Andrew will invite your feedback throughout today's session, but feel free to send him a question via your control panel at any time. And with that, I will hand it over to Andrew Houston.
Hey, Anthony, thank you very much for the great introduction, and welcome everybody. I'm really pumped about today's webinar / education session. This is one of the, as you guys are going to see later on today, this is one of the core areas and tactics that you've got to apply to your contracting business. This topic is called backcosting. We're going to get into exactly what that's all about. But first of all, I just want to let you guys know a little bit about my background. I've been in your shoes from the perspective of I've been a contractor, owned my own contracting company, specifically electrical contracting company. I did automation work and what have you. I grew the business, I systemized the business, and then I had my competition knock on my door, and actually I sold my contracting company. So what I do is, or what we do here at Profit for Contractors, is we help contractors scale their business, help them maximize profit. Our goal is to give you guys the insights, proven strategies that have not only worked for me, but for dozens, literally hundreds of other contractors out there, coast to coast, to help you guys become better leaders and help you build the business that you want. So there's three core secrets. Something I teach my clients. I'm just going to touch on these. Again, we're going to go very deep into a specific area today. But there's three core areas, three core pillars that I want you guys to take note of. And to get the most out of this, make sure you're taking notes. Make sure that you're getting out of this what you need to get out of this, participating, asking questions, responding, so that not only you benefit, but everybody else on this call benefits. So the three core secrets. Secret number one is delegate masterfully. Okay, we call it delegation mastery. Sorry, my tongue's twisted here. But really, delegation mastery is how to get back control of your time and your crews. One of the most cherished things as contractors, and a lot of people don't really get this, especially being a fellow tradie, is one of the gifts that we have is our hands and being a really good technician, but it's also a curse. So the very first thing that we want to look at is getting control of our time, because if we can't get control of our time, if you look at what you're going to be seeing today, if you don't have the time to apply it, well, then it's just wasted, right? Secret number two is dominating your market. You want to make sure that you know how to filter out the tire kickers. You want to make sure that you dominate your market so that when people come to you, they're coming to you for the right reasons, and it's not because you're the lowest price, but because they really understand and value your quality. Secret number three that we teach, and they are in this order, is delivering profitably. Delivering profitably every single time, and this is the area that we're going to go deeper in today, is how to deliver profitably, how to stop the leaks in profit, so that you guys know where to start. And where to focus in on maximizing your profits. So here's a model. Don't get overwhelmed by it. I'm going to walk you through this. Again, we're going to go at a good pace so that we can get deep into today's call. But I'm going to walk through with you guys basically the recipe of success that we call the Contractor's Genius Model. And we call it the Contractor's Genius Model. This does not exist anyplace else in the world. So you can thank Electrical Business Magazine and Annex for bringing this to you guys, because I'm going to give you guys basically the recipe in a very specific order to show you where you've got to organize, and I guess you could call audit your business to know where you've got to start. So delegation mastery, as I said to you guys, is the very first place. If we don't get control of our time, then everybody else is going to run our time. So the very first strategy that you got to look at in this recipe of delegation mastery is creating your blueprint. I mean, everybody on this call knows that if you don't have a blueprint, if you were asked to build a house and you don't have a blueprint for building that house, it doesn't matter how good or how much of a master carpenter or builder you are, you'd never be able to build the house that you want because you don't have a blueprint. So the blueprint is really your game plan, right? It's really the vision of where you want to take your contracting business. So ask yourself today, like, where do you want to take your contracting business? So many times when I talk to contractors, or my team talks to contractors, they've been in such chaos. They've been sucked, almost like the life's been sucked out of them. Or they're so busy that they never take the time to realize or to reflect on, hey, where am I trying to take this company? The blueprint's going to be different for everybody. Next thing is you got to steal back your time. If we know where our blueprint is, if we know what that blueprint looks like, and we're able to, reflect on it week on week, 52 weeks in the year, we're able then to say, hey, this is where I need to start putting my time. And one of those things might happen for you today after you start realizing, like, holy shit, I got to start doing this back costing. I got to start applying this. And that, I guarantee you, is going to be one of the outcomes. But stealing back your time is totally related to your blueprint. If your blueprint if your blueprint today is basically, let me go back here. If your blueprint today is basically just seen day to day, well, then that's not going to be a really good strategic way of applying your time. And the other side of the fence here is that if you don't know what it is you're trying to build, how are you going to be able to make sure that you're putting your time in the most highest value areas of your business? Okay, here's the thing. For those owners on the call, your time is the most valuable in the whole company, okay? Because your team, you should be leading your team, which brings us to the next one, finding and harnessing talent. Look, if you don't know where you're supposed to be spending your time, if you don't know what the heck it is you're trying to build for whatever distance out in time, how the heck is your team supposed to know what they are supposed to be building or what they're supposed to be doing to help you, turn that blueprint into reality? And when we're looking at finding talent, when we're looking at growing our team, because let's face it, no matter whether you're a 2-man, 10-man, 50-person team on this call, the only way that you can, grow and scale your business right down here is basically through others, okay? Next is dominating the market. Again, now we're moving into, making sure that you're getting, enough business, enough of the right type of business. So there's 3 core areas we got to look at in dominating your market. Number 1, you got to differentiate yourself. And in differentiating yourself, I'm talking about differentiating yourself beyond just price, okay? If price is your only differentiator, I'm going to tell you right now, that is a bad differentiator to only have, because guess what? You're just going to be, your profits and pricing is going to just get pushed down further and further and further, okay? So differentiating yourself, you got to make sure that you're able to differentiate yourself, that your clients know that you are the best for that product and service that you offer, so that they come to you. Next, in dominating your market is, now that we got leads coming in and we get the people coming to us for the right reasons, you got to filter fast. And how many times do we bring clients into our business and in front of our team, and they're Class D deadbeat, pain in the butt, clients that basically are trying to use us as banks, and no matter what we do, they're not going to be happy. So you got to filter fast so that you and your team are working with people that are worth working with, okay? Third area in dominating your market, now that we filtered and we've got the right clients, you have to make sure that you quote profitably, okay? Quoting profitably is absolutely crucial, and some of what we're going to be covering off today is going to touch on this area of quoting profitably. It's going to identify for us whether or not we are quoting profitably, or if there's some areas of concern in that space. Now that we've quoted the jobs and we've landed the jobs, the 3 areas in delivering profitably, okay? And really, to be honest with you, a dominating market, really that's all that's done for you, which is a big part, is giving you a ticket to the game, right? So now you got the ticket to the game to actually do the work. We got to make sure we do the work in maximizing the profits of what we get out of the work that we do with our team. Okay, so you got to have on and off site systems. You got to have systems that make sure that you're tracking your jobs, progressing to profit, not just waiting to the end and then going, oh my gosh, like what happened, right? And back costing it is a bit of that. It's about looking back in the past to see what's worked, what hasn't worked. Again, we'll get into that in a second. The second area of delivering profitably, and again, guys, this is the recipe. It goes in this order. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now into 7. Then there's predicting your profits and cash flow. You've got to make sure, for all of you listening on the call, and you know who you are. If you've got cash flow issues, we've got to get control of that right away. But again, if we didn't do the right type of mastery of our time, getting the right clients, quoting profitably, you're already screwed before you even get on the field. Okay, so that's the second area of delivering profitably. And the last one is forecasting growth. So forecasting growth is all about making sure that we're not just dealing week to week or month to month. We're able to see trends and be able to predict cycles as best as we can. And you know what? We can't predict that something's going to get struck by lightning, but there's a lot more control that we can have in our business and forecasting our growth, our manpower, our people power, of where we go, where are we headed in advance before we get there. So when you're able to dominate your market and deliver profitably, you're able to make money and you're able to maximize your money. When you're able to deliver profitably and get delegation mastery under control, you get freedom. And that is all about scaling your business, getting the freedom, the control, and the money that you want. So let's start getting deep. Your genius model might look a little bit like this, with a lot of things maybe in red, some things in yellow, like a traffic light, and maybe a few things in green. But our mission is to help contractors and help you guys turn every single one of these areas into green. Okay, let's do this. Let's get deep. We're going to go deep into this area here. We're going to go, which is going to give us a little bit of reflection on quoting profitably. But now it's time for us to leverage back costing for profitable job costing. Okay, so we're going to be discussing this tool. We're going to be applying it for you guys today, so you know exactly where to start back costing. Job costing and back costing, let's be clear, are two different things in my books. And let's just make sure we're all on the same page here. Job costing is basically costing a job. That means we're looking at a job and we're going to price it. Okay, that to me is job costing. It's before we actually do the job. Back costing is looking back. It's looking back on the job, and it's one of the most valuable things, I swear to God, that you guys can do. Okay, it's looking back on the job to identify what worked, what didn't work. If we keep making the same mistakes, you're going to get the same result. I mean, I think this is overused, but I'm just going to keep overusing it. Good old Einstein, right? The definition of insanity. Pretty smart cat, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Well, how many times do I meet a contractor? And I'm not coming down on you guys. I'm just saying we've got to change things if we want change. And I go, so do you do back costing? About 70-80% of the time, they don't know what that means. And then when I say, do you look back on your jobs? They go, no, I don't have time for that. Yet it is so crucial to do, because there's going to be things in there that are going to tell us that, hey, we need to stop repeating that, that insanity of doing things wrong. And that's what we got to focus in on. Here's the fears and frustrations. Let's talk about the fears and frustrations of not getting this right. If you don't get this right, we're losing profits and we don't know how to stop it. Okay. Next is our profits stay the same or get slightly worse on every estimate. If you don't identify, back costing is so crucial when it comes to quoting, because it gives you the ability to compare. If you're not comparing what you quoted on a job to what actually happened on the job, how the hell are you ever going to know, did you quote it profitably, right? I mean, how would you ever know whether or not you're way off or whether you're bang on? Next is we struggle every week to improve and we don't know where to start. This whole method of, guys, work harder, work harder. guys, you need to go faster on that job, right? It is not going to be a great strategy. We need to get incredibly specific with the holes. And I guarantee you there's never one hole. There are tons of holes. We just need to make sure we plug the biggest ones first and then plug the rest in order, okay? So back costing. If we don't do back costing, these are just a few of the issues that we're going to have. And I'm going to get deeper into some of the issues. The opposite of this is, you know, we get constant improvement, and constant improvement becomes part of our culture. That we're doing back costing, not to place judgment on people. We're doing back costing and getting our team to understand that back costing is one of the core ways for us to grow as a team. And there's something else regarding back costing. There will be jobs that go really, really well. And shouldn't we recognize our team members for the job that they did well, all the way from who quoted the bloody job to how we filtered getting the right client, and all the way through to how we, you know, started the job, ran the job, finished the job. I mean, you know, too many times we're bickering and you know, having this negative mindset sometimes with their team. And part of the reason is that we don't take the time to look back to recognize success and recognize areas of improvement. Again, the same mistakes, only the flip, they stop happening. You know, we know where and how to improve based upon the past. Our profits constantly improve over time, and we use back costing to improve the business, okay? So that's where we want to go. So our aim is for constant improvement. Here's a client of ours, Dayview Electric, great family-ran business. They, you know, we helped them do some succession planning. It was handed over from their father to the daughter and the son. And doing back costing was an incredible experience for them. I mean, here's this company, over 30 years old, okay? And they tried to improve profits. They tried to, you know, get their crews to do things better. Some cases, in a lot of cases, they were spending a lot of time sending senior people, including the owners, out to job sites, only to improve things for a day or two or maybe a week, and then things would go right back to the old way. You know, and they tried, right? They talked to their crews, but the reality was that they didn't have the right systems to track the jobs. They didn't know how to track them. They didn't even know where to start. And in all honesty, you know, there was jobs that we found that had lost tens, 20s over time. They figure, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years of not being able to pinpoint where there were problems, okay? And now the back costing wasn't the end all, the be all, but at the end of the day, when we were able to identify and put systems in place and be able to delegate those systems and put them in place from a habitual perspective, they were saving, as you can see, tons of hours per month in non-billable, knowing that one of the leaks that they had was change orders. I'm sure that resonates with some of you guys. Knowing that some of the leaks was that they weren't quoting profitably enough on their jobs, and knowing that, you know, in the way that they finished up their jobs, they were getting tons of callbacks because they didn't have the right steps in place for finishing jobs right the first time. So now it's a game changer. Now, not only, you know, do the owners know the power of back costing, but it's systemized so that it happens on every single job, not just one or two jobs, team, every single job. So here's the top 3 principles, not 10, top 3 principles that we want to get out of when it comes to you know, back costing. We want to be able to improve our accuracy of our estimates. We want to be able to track our team's performance. And we certainly want to be able to know what type of work that we need to focus in on and not focus in on to maximize our profits over and over and over again. So I'm going to show you a little spreadsheet. We call it the back costing calculator. Let's just break this down so that you're not going, oh my God, I'm looking at this all at once. Just break this down step by step. So one of the key things that we have to look at, and these are core attributes of quoting a job, okay, is your labor and your material / other costs, okay? So first things first is that when we're looking at back costs, remember we're looking back in something that's already happened, okay? We're looking at, you know, looking at the past. We're not right now looking at the future. This is so important that you want to make sure that you're tagging to your back costing. Anytime you do back costing, you got to make sure you tag it to a job, a specific project. You want to know who the client is. You want to know who the estimator is. You sure as hell better know who the project manager and foreman is. The reason being is because it's these people and it's this type of work and all the people that go underneath here that are going to either, when we look back, are going to be, the individuals that have made this job a success or not. Okay. So when we look at labor, we've got to break it down, like what were the quoted hours, okay? So that we know what was quoted against what actually happened, okay? So say it again. We need to be able to compare what was estimated. Then we want to be able to look at the labor, and we want to look at very simple things, not overcomplicated. This isn't a 10-page spreadsheet. This is a 1-page spreadsheet. Look at what's the hourly rate, okay? And so that when we enter in these areas in green, so the areas in green are the areas that we enter in data. The other areas in white we don't touch. It's going to tell us the story, okay? And again, what we're trying to look at here is, it's almost like we're looking at a book, like you're going into Indigo or whatever, and you basically want to say, hey, what kind of story is this thing telling us? Is this a good story? Is this a bad story? Is this an okay story with respect to labor and our material, okay? And other areas, okay? When it comes to material costs, it's the exact same thing. We need to look at what was estimated and what actually happened as far as usage of material and what was applied to the job. Then what we want to do is we want to get a gauge of, almost like red flagging what's off and by how much. Okay, so we want to look at the total. We want to look at, there's some little bonus stuff that's in here that I have with our clients is, that this is also used to not just do back costing, but it's also used to look back and go, hey man, did we bill what we should have billed? Is there anything outstanding? What percentage is left to be billed, type of thing. But for today, we're just going to look at this strictly for back costing. Okay, so that's the first thing that I want to show you guys, that you need to have a template. You need to either get it from us and use it. This works. It's simple. It's easy. Or you're going to have to create your own in some form or fashion, okay? The biggest thing that we want to look at is this column here, which is the difference. What's the difference between it? So let's go through, and as a team, let's take a look at this. Here's an example of a job that was back cost. This is a real job that was back cost. And typically what will happen, I tried to pull out 2 different examples for you guys, is here's an example of something that was under quoted, okay? So, or it went under what was quoted. What do you see? Let's just look at labor right now. What would go through your brain when you would look at this actual example here, this particular line here? What would you reflect on to say, hey, what is the problem? What is the holes that need to be plugged? Type in the chat box. What would you be, when you see this here, it was estimated at 261 hours, and what is, compared to the actual, what would this tell you? Improve estimation. Yeah, absolutely, Stan, okay? If this thing was off by 5%, is it normal to be off in 5% on a quote in the world of being a contractor? Absolutely, it is. But 25%? Maybe we need to look a little bit deeper. Now imagine if, let's just look at historical. Imagine if you did back costing on 3 more jobs and similar numbers came out. We would know right away. And then we scrolled up and went, wait a second, it's the same estimator. Now we can start pinpointing that where the problems might exist, okay? Then what would be a really good strategy? We could take this, get somebody else to estimate the same job. And you're like, well, what do you mean, coach? What I mean is we'd have somebody go and estimate the exact same job. And if they, ideally not knowing these numbers and quoting the job, maybe a couple, or looking back on the job that was already quoted that we're doing back costing on, and look back and go, okay, so what kind of numbers did John come up with versus Sarah? And funny enough, if John's the guy that is redoing the quote, and his accuracy is much better, then right away we know that there's a lack of experience. There's an issue with the person that's actually quoting the job. Ann says, was something missed? Yes, what a great question. Ann says, a job or task that was not completed. Exactly. Like, was there something missed on the quoting? Now, it might not be just the quoting. Maybe something was actually missed on the job. So this gives us the ability to start honing in on, well, what actually went over, okay? Patrick says, maybe overpriced, could be losing work. Absolutely. Michelle says, individual jobs aren't properly timed, documented for future jobs. Bingo. John says, could relate to the team dynamics of the crew. Exactly. Now look at this. Okay, I'm going to get into the next example for the sake of time. If it's the same bloody crew, right, or it's the same estimator, then it's going to show to us that there's a trend. And trends are one of the most important things that indicate to us that there's a habitual error happening over and over. Let's get into this one. This is one of my favorites. So the previous one was under the hours and the labor, and materials. This one is over. These are actual examples. Estimated team. So I want same question. So think about this. Get ready to type it in. 250 hours. Actual 387 hours. 55% over. By the way, I'm going to tell you what the problem was here. Okay. Look at the material. Material was $20,000 quoted. Actual was $33,000. Profit loss, okay, on this is over $18,000 on a $40,000, right, on a contracted job of $35,000. What do you think, guys, could have been some of the problems here? Stan, yes. Bingo, Stan has got one of them. Stan says extras. Yes. They were not submitting because they were in such chaos on the job, and there's a reason for the chaos. They were not submitting change orders. Now, guess what? When the client signs off on the job saying it's closed, contractually, it's closed. So they were never able to go and even recover some of that stuff, okay, those change orders. This allows us to, number one, hone in on this. Now, one of the biggest problems that happened here, the person quoting the job, a family member, was working 70 plus hours. He had to there's a whole bunch of jobs that had to be submitted within a certain period of time. He was burnt out. He told his father that he didn't have time to do these quotes, and his dad said, just get the quotes done. So the son, being pissed off and what have you, and tired and exhausted, just went and did the quotes. So he rushed it. He was pressured to go and do it. And now all that work that was done is completely wasted. The profits, the time, okay? So guys, there's so many areas that this can highlight to you, okay? This can tell you, was it the crew? This can tell you, were there change orders being missed? So one of the biggest issues that they did not have in place, and you guys want to write this down, they did not have a progress to profit board or some form of tracking along the way. You should never get to an end of the job and it look like this. So you work so hard for what you do. You need to make sure you track your jobs in a progress format, phase by phase by phase, so that you know if you're on track, off track, so you can get back on track and make sure you stay on track. So with that being said, that is one of the most powerful things that you guys can do in your business is back costing, okay? How much more profitable could we be? You guys don't need to type this in the chat box, but think about this. If you even improve your quoting ability by 5%, if you improve the way that you run your job start to finish by 5%, if you improve the efficiency of your crews by 5%, I want you to take this tool. It's in the drop, it's in the handout, you guys have gotten it, and I want you to go through it in this order. The very first thing I need you to do is check off. You're not going to do it right now, but I need you to do this after the call, and I can show you guys, and we can walk through this together afterwards. I want you first of all need to identify what type of work do you need to start back costing. Don't try and back cost everything at once. It's going to be too much, too overwhelming, and it's going to slow down the whole process. So pick an area, go with your gut that you're doing right now that is not going so well, or you got a bit of an itch saying, I need to really hone in on this area of the business. Next is you need to look at, are you going to be looking at the past? Are you going to be looking at the present? Are you going to be looking at the future as far as, what areas do you want to start looking at back costing? Next is you want to look at, so now that we know what type, now that we know time frame, we're going to more likely look back, right? We're going to say, hey, which job are we going to start with? Okay. Next is to start putting our set of lenses on now that we're back costing, and they go, you know what? I'm looking at these numbers right now. My spidey sense tells me that it's the team's efficiency, or my sense is that how we're quoting the job. Start putting on a set of lenses that go deeper in a very specific area, and then move on to the next area, one step at a time. Don't try to do it all at once. You'll create could create a lot of chaos for yourself. And then the next area you want to look at is who can help you? Who can really help you with this process? Most of you have an admin person or a bookkeeper or something of that nature. You must have a bookkeeper or an accountant that can help you, with this as far as the numbers. But we're also able to help you guys in breaking this down as well. And then just determine what the next steps are. And that's it. Don't overcomplicate it. Pick a job, pick the type, and start doing some back costing. Okay. This has identified over $10,000 a month in profit leaks with one of our clients, RNF Construction. These guys were working so hard for so little. And once we started looking back at some of the jobs, it was very evident that there were certain estimators that, needed some serious educating or re-educating on how they were quoting jobs. There were certain project managers that, needed to have proper systems put in place for them. But when we looked at this, it became incredibly clear that there were so many opportunities. And you think about this, $10,000 a month has now been plugged. Think about what they're able to do with that. We got to be able to set targets, and we got to be able to do that by looking at the right type of data. And here's my question for you. You want to keep doing it the old way, making the same mistakes, losing profits, not knowing where to start, struggling to improve our business, or knowing exactly where we got to focus, knowing what we got to do, using back costing to improve the business over and over, and being able to get our team to help us with that. So just type in the chat box. You want to do it the old way or the new way? Here's what I want you to understand. If we go and lose a job, or we go and lose profits on a series of jobs, let's just say that we lost $10,000 over the year, okay, in profits, okay? That could be through quoting, that could be through the crew's not knowing what to do because, we're not looking back at this back costing, okay? Here's what happens. All the time it took you to do those jobs, you lost money. So let's just say that was, if you add all the time up, it was like, I don't know, let's say a month's worth of work over a year. Now watch this. If your net profit, that means the bottom line profitability that you have in your business is 10% net profit. Type in the chat box really quickly, not hard math, really quickly. How much sales would we have to get in order to cover off $10,000 in loss if our net profit is 10%? $100,000. You got it. Who said that? Patrick. You got it. 100K. Now, how long does it take would take that company to do 100K worth of work? Probably, let's just say 100K worth of work conservatively is easily going to be at least 2 months, conservatively. Okay, easy. Now, you just did 2 months to cover off the 100,000. Okay, 2 months. You're still at zero. You are still at zero. Now, say you wanted to make 10K. Well, now you got to work another 2 months for you to actually make the 10K. So think about this. When somebody says to me that they don't have the time or the resources, it's not about, whether or not you have the resources, it's how resourceful you're willing to be. Okay? That's 5 months. Now, give or take, it's different for everybody on this call. It could be 6 months, 9 months. 2 months, okay? The fact is you need to take the time, guys. You need to raise your hand and ask for help and get the help that you need. Otherwise, you're going to have this, whether it's, minor leaks in profit or major leaks in profit, it's just going to keep happening over and over and over again. So I think that's it. So thank you very much. I want to thank Electrical Business Mag. You guys should thank them as well for bringing this to you, for the strategy session and sponsoring this. And Anthony, I think that's it from the Coach's Corner.
Excellent, my friend. Thank you. And who knew you could glean so much information from an Excel sheet? Now, next month, we have an upcoming webinar on battery-based energy storage systems with Larry Cantello. And with that, I hope you have some takeaways that you can and will implement right away. Andrew, always thanks to you for your insights. And thanks to all of you for attending. Have a profitable day.